Hello and welcome back to Rev Endurance Sports, and today we're going to do a bike profile and we're also going to do a post-service debrief on this Cervelo S5. So let's get a couple of things out. If anyone knows what year this bike is, we'll get some close-ups here in a minute, but if someone can drop a comment down below and tell us what year it is. And then also the rim depth on these Knight wheels. And I didn't take the time to research this. I'm just swamped with bikes I'm repairing in the shop. But is Knight wheels still, are they still in business? And I don't know. But I saw that this bike had MV brake pads. I took it out for a test ride. It felt fine. So I'm guessing maybe there's some shared technologies there. Okay, well, let's take a look. This is a Cervelo S5 with a mixed bag of Shimano Ultegra 6800 11-speed with some SRAM red brakes. So I'd like to know, and I'll ask the customer if the person who sold him the bike gave him any indication as to why there are not Ultegra brakes or Shimano brakes for that matter. Just anything that would have been part of the 11-speed drivetrain stuff, just to, match them up. But there's SRAM red brakes on here. It's a 52-36 setup right there, with an 1128 cassette. Now that's not a new cassette. This bike came in for a tune and clean service, and what that generally entails is, obviously, I tune it, and then the next thing is for the clean, we clean the drivetrain, we pull the fork out, check the headset bearings, grease them, put them back in, take the crankset out, check the bottom bracket bearings, grease everything, put that back together. And of course, you have to take the cassette off to clean it properly. So you take the cassette off and then you inspect the free hub body. And this being the DT Swiss free hub body, I was able to just remove the free hub body and look inside there and lube it. And so everything from the wheel bearings are also very good. So everything bearing-wise is good, and no notching, no grinding, no noise. And apologize for the car traffic, but there is a red light up here, and as soon as that turns green, these cars just, it's a raceway. All right. The shifters and handlebar setup, when I took this out for a test ride, I'll ask the customer why he has it set up this way, but they're on an angle, and maybe he's thinking that that's how you're supposed to ride this flat part of this bar. But I'll ask him. I don't arbitrarily just change someone's bike fit. So it's possible he doesn't realize that these shifters should be flat across. So right now they are canted up, so this should be flat across. Your hand should make a flat transition from the handlebar to the brake hood. Then that would also fix this situation here, because being that this is tilted up, this is a hard position to get into with the bars like this to descend. And generally, like any good attorney, I know the answer to the question before I ask the customer, but I'll ask them, hey, how do you feel about descending on this bike? And then I'll ask them, do they use the drops? And invariably, when I see bars like this, they never use the drops, or they're terrified of descending, and that's because they do not have maximum control of their machine. So here's your pro tip for today. This bar should not be angled up, and it should be flat. Your brake hoods should be flat. And the pro tip of the day is that the drops is the most important part of that handlebar. It is the safest place to descend a mountain and control your machine. It is also the best place to get out of the saddle and sprint, or maybe something really, really steep, 25, 30%. You'll want to get in those drops and then, fight gravity as you're going up a 25% grade. All right. As I mentioned before, this has a SRAM red brake calipers, and these are 25 tires, so there's plenty of clearance on this to go possibly to a 28, just to give this gentleman a little bit more comfort. Now, of course, I test rode this bike, and everyone's always, oh, why do you ride steel, and all that silliness that people just want to say that I'm a dinosaur, but that's fine. Test rode this bike. It literally does need a 28 tire to tame the ride comfort a little bit on this. And if you have the space, this is where we're at these days. If you have the space, just take it and put a bigger tire in there and get nice and comfortable. If you're worried about speed and aerodynamics, well, maybe don't do that and just stay flush with your tire and your rim, and that'll be as aero as you can make it. Now, one of the things I mentioned on my Ritchie rebuild, the gray Ritchie rebuild, is I mentioned that I prefer these long arm front derailleurs. They're just so easy to dial in, and you please the customer. You satisfy the customer so much better with this setup. Now, it was very poorly adjusted. I'm leaving this pigtail long just to show the customer how poorly adjusted this was, and then I'll trim it for him just to say, look, this is where this was. The setup was just way off. And then also in the rear, this was screwed all the way out. So anytime a bike comes in for a tune-up, I bottom everything out, reset it, and start from scratch. So I bottomed out the barrel adjuster, and then there was all this extra pigtail here. So I don't know who tuned this bike. Maybe it was the consumer, previous consumer, but yeah, it just needed that kind of work. And new chain, because the chain was worn beyond limits. And I tried to get this thing to slip, but this saddle is, this is a pretty large bike. You can see by this head tube. I can palm a basketball pretty easily, so this is a pretty big head tube. I just wasn't able to really ride this bike safely. So I tried to sprint with it. Didn't feel any slippage. Bigger bikes, not bigger bikes, but bigger riders, when I see a gentleman like that come through, I know that they spend a lot of time in these lower cogs here because they're just powerful riders, and they can get some speed and ride. So a lot of times I'm not so worried about the climbing cog, and I can see that it's got nice flat tops, so that's good. But down inside here, that's where you'll get the slippage, because either they just ride really fast or they plod along at a 75 cadence on the flats. So I'll have him test that, and hopefully, now of course, if you're in the service bays, please advise your customer. Just set their expectations up that you say, look, we're replacing a chain because it's worn. Your cassette kind of looks okay, so do your chain rings. But if you get any slippage, leaving a traffic light or a stop sign or something like that, or at a hard sprint, then we'll have to readdress your drivetrain components. Maybe we need to replace your cassette, or maybe we need to replace your chain rings. So there's that. Now, I was looking at these bottle cages. So we got some Envy bottle cages here, which I didn't put a bottle in and out of, but they look pretty minimalist, and that's kind of cool. So I also noticed that the bottle mount has a couple of places for it. So you got a bolt here, and then the two here. Here, of course, this is now curving around the the rear tires. So this is where a lot of the aerodynamic shaping of this bike is. Notice a tall head tube and a long slant, or pretty significant slant, coming down from the head tube, coming all the way down to the seat tube junction here. Now, aero seat posts, of course, that's what you're going to get with this kind of a bike. And then this saddle. So maybe someone can tell me what they think about their Specialized Mimic saddle, I believe that's called. It seems okay, but again, I just couldn't really sit on it because the saddle was so high. And I have long legs, but yeah, there was just no way I could do it. So it's got like this really soft section here in the perineum area, and you know, a padded nose, so wide for the sit bones. Seems like a pretty good saddle. On a personal level, I'm not a fan of short nose saddles. I guess it's called power saddle. I don't sell Specialized, of course, since I'm not a dealer, Specialized dealer. So I apologize if I'm butchering the names of this saddle, but yeah, it seems like a pretty good saddle. And then just little things that I noticed when I pulled the fork out. So inside here, right, you have your fork, your steer tube comes up, and then your plug that goes inside the steer tube was not sitting flush. It was off by about 2 millimeters, possibly even 3 millimeters. And so I unscrewed it, pushed it down in, and then retorqued it. So I wonder how that migrated up. And then, of course, I centered his California Bear. It was all cockeyed. But one last thing, it is always a pet peeve of mine. Let me see if I can move this out into the sunlight. No, it's kind of hard to see. But all this excess tape, this is why I wrap my bars from top down, because you avoid all of this. Look at this big section of black electrical tape all the way through here. Now I left that alone. Hopefully, he just moved here from further south in San Diego. So we'll probably get an opportunity to do a lot more work together. And when it's time to replace his bar tape, there are some nicks here and there, like you see that there. I'll turn them on to the George Vargas revcycling bar tape wrap to clean all that up and make it just a nice and tidy handlebar. But yeah, this bike is a fun bike. I remember S5s coming out when I was sponsored by Cervelo way back when, but they didn't have this cutout over here. It was I remember like Cancellara used to ride one, and it didn't have the full seat tube, the tire wrapping on the seat tube. Once again, apologies for that. Okay, that is all for today. If you like these bike profiles, you like them to keep coming, please drop a comment down below. And in the meantime, we will see you up the road.